This message didn't find you by accident, chosen one. God sent you here for a reason that goes deeper than logic and beyond explanation. This is not just a message. It's a sacred whisper, a divine confirmation. Your journey was never meant to be ordinary. Just like Enoch, you were never designed to fit in. Not everyone was meant to understand you. Not everyone can walk with you. You weren't called to blend. You were chosen to stand out. There's something extraordinary written over your life, a mark of divine distinction, a spiritual uniqueness that even you have struggled to fully explain. But now, the wait is over. The breakthrough is here. The shift has begun. And like Elon Musk breaking through barriers, ideas, and limits, you too are stepping into a new dimension. Your removal from what no longer fits. Your transformation into who you were always becoming. Your departure from what tried to hold you back. And your ascension into what heaven has ordained will no longer be invisible. It will be seen. It will be undeniable. And it will finally reveal who you truly are. To help you completely comprehend the mystery of your calling and the scope of what lies ahead, let's divide this prophetic revelation into 7 impactful chapters. This message is more than simply material. So before we get started, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. For the selected is a confirmation from God. I also want to express my sincere gratitude to everyone who has been helping out with super thanks. May God generously bless you. We are aware of your loyalty, presence, and support. I sincerely thank each and every listener, believer, and spirit that is in tune with this frequency. If you're feeling upbeat right now, enter 77 in the comments section. It's not a random number. It's a sign that you're ready, a prophetic code. All set for the change, the separation, and the upcoming miraculous ascent. Not everyone will read this letter through to the conclusion, and that's deliberate. The only people who will comprehend what the Spirit is saying are those who are marked like Enoch and are genuinely chosen. The people who stay will get revelation, understanding, and divine insight into why God is going to take them away. Not as a punishment, but as a public affirmation of their secret path. You don't hear this warning once and then ignore it. This is your future dimension's blueprint, a spiritual key. When your spirit is moved, watch it again because you will learn more of God's mysteries each time. Let's begin. Chapter 1. You're being taken differently because of the way you walk. Enoch survived. All the laws of nature are broken by that fact alone. Those around him gradually experienced deterioration, anxiety, and suffering, but he did not. There was no funeral for him. There was no time for grieving. He just went beside God till he entered another dimension. He was here 1 minute, and then he was gone. His mission had grown to the point that the earth could no longer hold him, not because he was unable to fulfill it. It was no coincidence that Enoch left. It was a heavenly choosing process. It wasn't loud or theatrical either. It was silent yet strong. He wasn't taken away by God as a punishment. He took him out for honor, elevation, and preservation. You were never intended to go the usual route, chosen one. You have a unique spiritual life. You cannot use the same systems that others may use. You don't feel comfortable with the routines they adhere to. That's because heaven has designated your spirit for something unusual. You walk differently than other people. You don't want approval. You're not tempted by cheers. You've experienced things that ought to have shattered you, but instead they strengthened you. Despite suffering losses that left some resentful, you emerged from them smarter, kinder, and more conscious. Your goods did not bring you peace. Long, silent, and even agonizing periods spent alone with God gave you clarity. Seasons in which nobody cheered, nobody observed, and nobody offered assistance. Heaven, however, saw everything. You have depth in your gait. You have discernment. Your presence has a weight that speaks before you even speak. People can sense something about you even if they don't completely grasp you. You possess insight derived from surrender rather than study. Right men to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. You've never really fit in because of this. Your talents reappeared despite your best efforts to minimize them. You made an effort to remain in your familiar surroundings, but the uneasiness persisted. That was God calling you out of your limitations, not punishing you. In actuality, a lot of individuals in your immediate vicinity have become used to your presence. They don't realize how deep you are. Some even think that since they have seen your procedure but have never understood your aim, they can define or label you. Now, however, God is changing the mood. Not only physically, but spiritually, emotionally, relationally, and even geographically, He is getting ready to take you. You're being taken away from the location where you were last seen, measured, and labeled. And you won't be where they left you when they look again. In ancient rooms, they will look for you and discover quiet. They'll anticipate that you'll react similarly and get silence in return. They will search for you in familiar locations, but you won't be there since your mission has outgrown its previous iteration. You are untraceable in the natural world because of the degree of closeness you have formed with God. Your habits have evolved. You've grown up. And like Enoch, a public transformation has been triggered by your solitary stroll. God is leading you in a direction that the general public will not understand. They won't get why you quit participating in cycles that depleted you. But you will know because it's breakthrough rather than burnout. Chapter 2. Your departure will lead to your disclosure. God's removal of Enoch wasn't only a kind gesture. It was a confirmation act. Heaven was communicating with the ground. Enoch led more than a moral life. He was so intimate with God that he no longer needed a distinction between the normal and the supernatural. He had more than faith. He was faith in action. His dismissal wasn't quiet or arbitrary. It was divine proof that he was not supposed to stay in a world that was no longer able to support his alignment, his purity, or his divine mission. Enoch wasn't taken away by God to keep him alone. To identify him, He took him off. It was the point at which what had always been spiritually true became evidently indisputable. Enoch was unique. He was unique from the beginning. But what words could never prove, his absence did. His departure was more loud than his presence. "This one walked with me," God said to the world, "and I'm taking him where you cannot go." Removal is not a punishment, chosen one. It is the fulfillment of a prophecy. It's possible that you began undetected. For years, you could have been misinterpreted. Others could have thought your compliance was stupid. You could have lost chances because of your honesty. Additionally, your seclusion may have been mistaken for failure. However, none of it was in vain. It all built up. Every silent struggle you fought, every room you left without introducing yourself, every time you opted for peace over establishing a point. And now you're going to be removed. Not because you've been forgotten, not because you're leaving, and not because you're not qualified. The reverse is true. Your previous assignments are no longer relevant. You've finished the tasks assigned to you in certain locations. You have illuminated spaces that were unaware of what they were containing. Heaven is finally prepared to disclose what has been concealed. Your departure won't be spectacular, but it will be indisputable. You're not only moving about in space. Your spiritual status is changing. People will discover they never knew you at all, even if they believe they understood you. When they see what God accomplishes next, those who thought you were just ordinary will be dumbfounded. Because leaving is a revelation rather than just a conclusion. The same individuals who disregarded you in public will suddenly question where you went as soon as God starts to reveal the layers of who you really are. The quiet will be noticeable to them. They will sense the emptiness, because your presence was carrying more than they were prepared to acknowledge. They won't recall the worth you had until it has been taken away. And something will snap when you depart, whether it's a sudden elevation, a spiritual change, or a physical move, in the thoughts of those who undervalued you, as well as in the environment. They will be struck with a supernatural knowledge. Your removal is your reveal. There's an understanding that sounds like this. They were never like us. They never belonged to this system. They were always different. They were always marked. They were always chosen. God is removing the curtain from your life. The silent one turns into the verified one at that very instant. In plain sight, God affirms the person they questioned. Your name won't need to be defended. To be noticed, you won't need to battle. Through your absence, God Himself is making the announcement. Chapter 3. You've been hiding in plain sight from God. You've been walking hand in hand with God behind the scenes, just like Enoch. You were in alignment, silently developing, and quietly obeying while the rest of the world was preoccupied with noise, statistics, and name recognition. You weren't seeking for status. You sought God, and He chose you for just that reason. You've been put in places that didn't seem like a good fit for you, occupations that weren't your calling, and spaces that didn't know you were there. Because they weren't prepared to see, rather than because you didn't shine, the people around you were unable to notice your light. You have been concealed in plain sight, misinterpreted by those with superficial knowledge, and disregarded by others who rely only on visibility to determine your worth. But throughout all, God saw you. Being invisible wasn't a sign of rejection. It served as defense. There was no delay. It was a divine plan. What He was constructing, He was hiding, because certain things can't be exposed unless they are safeguarded. It takes time to have a holy unveiling. Furthermore, you are more than simply a human, selected one. You are foretelling. You have too much depth to be squandered on shallow platforms, too much anointing to be tossed into areas devoid of regard, and too much oil to be exposed too soon. Enoch wasn't revealed by fame or accolades. No public coronation took place. He didn't need praise, affirmation, or viral acceptance. His insight occurred via disappearing. People were acutely aware of what they had lost when he was gone. What his words could not express, his absence did. His absence was more noticeable than his presence. It was the affirmation that his normalcy was never intended. All the while, he was walking with God. The same is true for you, chosen one. Some individuals won't realize how valuable you are until you stop returning their calls and occupying their space. Until stillness is all they find as they seek for you. They started to mistake your availability for their entitlement, since you've been reliable for so long. They thought you were always there. However, God is about to change that, as the significance of what has been concealed will soon be shown by abrupt elimination. Write Amen to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. You have been placed in locations and seasons that were meant to serve as temporary shelters rather than long-term residences. However, you were treated as if you owed them your time, your energy, and your talents. They were unaware that it was due of them that you were no longer standing in those areas. You were there because God kept you there until the appropriate moment, until the task was finished, until your secret self was completely developed and prepared to be revealed. The concealing is finally ending, but there won't be any fanfare. Some people won't even realize what they've lost until your light is no longer there to lead them. So don't expect the throng to cheer your departure. They may be perplexed by your leaving, but they will be convinced. It will demonstrate to them that being able to access the selected is a privilege rather than a given. Don't lament the departure. Don't question the release. Accept it, because this change is more than simply a physical one. It is a revelation of prophecy. Layer by layer, God is lifting the curtain to expose the whole of what He has been developing inside you all along. Everything is emerging, including the anointing, authority, knowledge, and clarity. We never forgot you. You were saved. You were never stranded. You were set up. God never saw you as invisible. For effect, you were concealed. Chapter 4. Not everyone is able to follow your path. A multitude did not accompany Enoch. No one asked him for permission. He didn't wait for other people to recognize his vocation. He was taken by God in secret. It was holy. It was deliberate. There was no notice, no farewell tour, no ceremony, simply heavenly ascent, carried out in total hush. Since heaven's movements don't always have earthly explanations, God didn't need to tell the earth why Enoch left. The same is true for you, chosen one. Not everyone is suited for the season you're entering. You're being called to ascend by God. Furthermore, not everyone is able to breathe where He is leading them. Have you not been experiencing it? Some partnerships seem far away. Once full conversations now seem hollow. Once comfortable surroundings suddenly seem weighty, uncomfortable, and even upsetting. And it's no accident. It's affirmative. What no longer represents who you really are is something you're outgrowing. The fact is that not everyone can follow your path. It's not that you're superior to them. Rather, it's that you have different expectations. More freedom, more trust, and more concentration are needed for what is ahead. Additionally, some of the individuals you still have feelings for were only intended to accompany you on part of the voyage, not the whole course. Your mission with God is just beginning, but theirs in your life is over. The opportunities are changing. The doors are shutting to elevate you, not to confine you. God often starts elevating people by getting rid of things that can't keep them at the next level. Even while it can seem like everything is falling apart, it's really coming together. Distractions are being deleted in order to increase your clarity. To help you move more quickly, He is taking away your weight. He is preparing you by trimming your surroundings rather than punishing you. Doesn't it ache sometimes? Losing those you assumed would remain. Seeing relationships erode inexplicably. Being misinterpreted when you just developed. However, the procedure includes this agony. It's the cost of being higher up. And Enoch knew it too. He didn't fight God's tug just to stay acquainted with the populace. The world could no longer contain him because he walked so intimately with God. Don't be upset over what's slipping away, chosen one. Don't lament the loss of friendship or access. The link could not withstand the calling if God permitted the separation. It would have thrived with you if it could have. You are being taught by God. However, that peace is more potent than popularity. That goal is more enduring than closeness. Comfort is not as holy as that destiny. Stepping back isn't an act of arrogance. By protecting your energy, you're not being unloving. You're smart. You're following orders. You're safeguarding your life soil. Furthermore, spilling that oil on unfit land would be too expensive. What you carry is too much for everyone to manage. A person that is becoming into what you are is not someone that everyone can walk with. Right, men, to feel the peace of the angels and show your support with a super thank you up to $20. Chapter 5. The onlookers will be astonished by your removal. The folks were shocked when Enoch was abducted. Among them, they had seen him. They never did, however, completely comprehend his identity. They were aware of his unique gait. Although they felt that he had a peculiar spirit, they were unable to fully appreciate the scope of his vocation. Not till his departure. Your life will follow the same divine path if you are chosen. People may ignore you while you're here. They can mistakenly interpret your quiet as weakness, your compliance as folly, and your seclusion as failure, but they are blind to what God perceives. Only the exterior shell is visible to them, but God sees the oil within. And those same people who rejected you will be left in astonished silence when God ultimately takes you away from the commotion, the throng, and the cycles, because they will learn too late that you were never just another person. You were a prophetic presence, a living symbol, and a divine whisper manifested in human form. It won't be a fall to remove you. A flight will be involved. You won't disappear because you didn't win. You're going to disappear because you won. You'll vanish from some relationships and locations. Since you were diverted, not because you were turned away, it was your fate. Furthermore, your absence will be more influential than your presence. When you play back what you said, they'll see that you were telling the truth. They'll recall your quiet and see how strong it was. They'll sense that you're not there and know that you are. Selected one. People seldom acknowledge who you are while they still have access to you. Some people only recognize your worth when they are unable to touch it. God permitted misunderstandings because your influence was meant to be indiscernible rather than overt. The system is going to be shocked by your departure. Because what's coming isn't natural, people will strive to understand how you climbed and how everything changed so abruptly, but they won't be able to do it organically. It is otherworldly. Some may mutter something was always different about them. Others will just remain quiet. We didn't know they were that deep. Because the truth will speak for itself. God is revealing how misunderstood you were by writing your exodus. They didn't see your mission, but they did see your anguish. They didn't see your discipline, but they did see your delay. They will now realize what they missed as God raises you. Elevation without justification. That's what Enoch experienced. He didn't justify his stance. He just went silently and dutifully. Additionally, he vanished one day. It was his absence, not his sermons, that became his legacy. You'll experience the same thing. For those who knew you, your departure will signal the start of disclosure. Some will think about it, Some will attempt to come back. However, your assignment there will be finalized before then. When your time in that place is over, God will have moved you on all levels. While you were there, don't be sad that they missed it. Don't be upset by the delayed acknowledgement. It's a component of the design. God often keeps his greatest treasures hidden from view until he removes them. Being noticed was not your birthright. You were meant to be his symbol from birth. And when God raises you up, the whole weight of who you are will be exposed by your absence. Therefore, don't fight the removal, since your departure will be remembered for a long time. Chapter 6. This exit is an ascension, not an end. Enoch didn't simply go. He went up. He was raised by God, above worldly conflicts, above bewilderment, above diversions, and above the burden of a world that was unable to support his true self. There was no disappearance. It served as a confirmation, and selected one. Your life is going to experience the same thing. A relocation is what seems to be a removal. What seems to be an abrupt departure is really a continuous ascent. You're not being fired. You're being honored. We're not excluding you. God does not degrade his vessels, which is why you're being called up. He separates them in order to advance them. It will seem to some that you left. They'll think you gave up.